My name is Doug Frazier, and I have been around with these jokers for a little while. And one of the things that we started doing was we set up a teaching network where we went out into the housing projects and started working with the residents in the housing projects to do things to help them. And it all started, one of the things that started, we were at a meeting one day, invited, and one of the ladies got up and said, "Has anybody ever seen a positive story about the housing authority?" And one lady got up and said, "I think that's against the law." So what happened was we decided that we would do some things that would try to help. So one of the things that came about was Angela and the radio station had decided that they wanted to find a way, very much like Wally said, to keep things working when there's nothing working. So we were kind of brought in, and we started looking for ways to create things that would help people. So we came up with this thing called the EMAS, which is the Electronic Mobile Access System. And behind me, you'll see right here, this is a live shot, a live picture of what we put together. This is what you would have if you had a private communication system, and if you needed an emergency system, it would look like this. It looks unassuming, but it's quite powerful. So this building is, what happened was the college Angela had came to us, and they wanted to find a way how to keep things working even when the radio station and the studio went down. And what happened was, as you all know, car batteries have taken a big leap, because now we have batteries that can power cars. When some of us was little, batteries only powered little cars. And now batteries power big cars. So what we figured out was that you had to have a communication system, a mobile communication system that would work almost anywhere. This is on the top of this is a live picture on the top of a disaster center here at the college. The college across the street is a major disaster center. And so if there's a disaster, this is where you bring your butt, across the street, because it's on top of a hill and out of the flood zone. But so what happens if there's no communication? What would you do?
Don't know how to get there.
Right. So what we did was we said, let's put in some elements that would allow you to have a communication system that would work when nothing else is working. So the first thing you would have to have, the two first things you would have to have is a way to get the signal. So you could either pick up the signal from here, from space, internet, or you could take the signal from here, terrestrial. This points at the Harlem Hospital, because that's one of the places that we did. We did Harlem Hospital. We built Harlem Hospital. We put the internet in all of the clinics, elevators, the weight room, the command center, and we connected them up from here. Dave's right, nobody gave a shit. No one cared. And we did state office building. And what we were trying to do was connect up the places to have service that had their own power. So that if you went to those particular places, we would do it. We did some of the housing project. I see Polly here. She was one of the first buildings that we did. In fact, that may have been her development where the lady said, it's against the law to say something nice about the housing authority. So one of the things you have to have is you have to have the way to get the signal. So this brings the signal in, it's a transceiver. It either comes in or goes out. It works both ways. You need a device to get the signal somewhere and bring it back. And then when you get to these particular locations, when you get somewhere, you have to have something. This little thing right here is a little access point, and this brings you the internet. So if you went somewhere, you would set up your ways to get the signal, then you would use these things so that people could get on the internet. This is a camera that's set up to that, and this camera that's showing the picture is being fed off of one of these two devices. So, and of course, the power is coming from the building, because this particular building, the disaster center building, which is across the street, has its own power system. So you need something like this. So we were in the military, we would be in the signal corps, and they would send somebody out like us to say, set something up so we can start communicating. This is what you would have. So it doesn't look like anything. It looks very unassuming, doesn't it? Yes. But this is what you need when there's no communications and there's no way to get service. And you have the camera here So you could send back the internet to headquarters and let them know that you ain't driving around. So this is what you need, and this is how we set this up. We did some projects, housing projects, the same way, so that the people in the projects could have emergency systems. We don't want no radios. So we gave the people, we trained them, and we gave them, thanks to Wally, we gave them these little walkie-talkies, not this one, but the pastor back there got a good one. Bring that one forward, man. Nah, not that one. That one works on the cellular. Give me the one that works in the, yeah. No, the one with no screen, man. Come on. Yeah, this is it. Yeah. So we give these radios out to the people that live, after we train them, the people that live in the projects. We give them these particular radios, because this radio, if you notice, has no screen on it. And so all you have to do is turn it on.
Power on. 4, 5.
And just pick a number. Yeah. You ain't got to know nothing. Turn it on and pick a number.
6.
And if the number is 5,
5.
then you tell your neighbor, when we tell everybody, put their thing on 5. And then if you're in your building and something happens, you could go, help me, I need help. I'm on the 18th floor, I'm on the 12th floor, and I can't get out of my house. And you can talk to the people who took the training, who are part of the virtual tenant patrol. Thank you, Polly. And the virtual tenant patrol allows you to use these devices. We also have a number of federal licenses. You wouldn't know that by looking at us. And one of the licenses that we have allows us to use these radios all over the place. We have some here, and we put them at the housing developments so that people can communicate when there's a problem. So they can talk to each other and find out when you need help. And some of those radios, there's also right behind here, there's a big giant radio antenna. Am I right? Where's Wally? Right. There's a big giant radio antenna, right, Wally? That we have up there. So I just want to say this about Wally. We had these big satellite dishes on the bank building on 149th Street because we used to build cable systems. And one day there was a big storm, and I thought the antenna got knocked over. I went and got Wally, and Wally came with me. There was a big giant storm, and we went up on this building, and the wind was raging, and we had to secure this dish. So we got up there on the roof, the wind was blowing. Wally grabbed this big chain and a rope. He ran over to the antenna, and he started trying to tie it down. He said, Doug. And I was over in the corner going, yes. He didn't know. He knew right away that I'd never be a sailor. I was scared shitless on that roof. Even though I had asked him to come and help me, I stood in the corner while he did all the work. Am I making that up, Raleigh? Okay, what others? We were on another roof, and I'm inside. We were in this giant building, and I was inside the bell tower. There's a big bell in the building. I was inside the bell tower, and Wally was up on the upper part of the roof, and I heard this noise, and I looked up. It was this big, giant bird. I'm serious. A big, giant bird. He was so big, and he was flying, and you couldn't hear anything. And I was hiding I was inside the belfry of the bell, hiding. And when the bird flew by, I said, Wally, did you see that? And Wally said, I thought he was going to take me. It was the biggest bird I ever seen. I mean, it looked like an osprey or something. We were in the Bronx. I'm serious. Well, you know, one thing about us men is we know who's a punk and who's not. And we don't try to hide it either. Unlike others. So to kind of wrap everything up, one of the things that we learned is that you have to have resiliency in the communication networks. You have to have a way to make things work when there's nothing working. Nobody thought about that. I was around when they had the 911. When they knocked down the buildings, Stu called me on the phone. He said, hey, guess what? They knocked down the buildings. I said, what buildings? He said, the World Trade Center. I immediately called my daughter, who had a cell phone. I brought her a cell phone, $1,000 a month. I like to broke my neck, wondering who she was going to talk to. And I called my daughter up and I told my daughter, do not get on the subway to come home. Get on the bus and come home on the bus. And then after about, Stu called me again and said, hey, they just knocked down another building. And one of my friends pulled up and we drove down to, my daughter was going to school at 57th Street. We drove down there and I went and got my daughter. I went and picked her up from down there and I didn't want her coming home by herself. And what I learned is that when there's an emergency, the first thing you can do is worry about the people who you care about the most. Usually your kids or the people who are like your kids. And once you get them secure, you're okay. And back then, they didn't have the kind of communication systems that we have now. So the idea is to teach people how to use the communications, because everybody talks about getting the internet and how much it costs. That's all bullshit, because there's no price that's going to be beneficial when you're a poor person. So what you really need to do is be able to figure out, what the heck do you do with it? How do you use it? What do you use it for? And so these are some of the kinds of things that we do. And if you look up, Stu will tell you later, we got a lot of stuff that we've done in the authority around and some of the housing buildings. I thought that was you. I thought that was you, Angelique. We did her building. We did Angeline's building. And when we did her buildings, first thing she said was, we got to do the back stairwell. I said, somebody cleans the back stairwell. Why don't we do the parking lot? Because people back there doing stuff. So we put a camera in the parking lot, and you know, people were able to see who was coming. Obviously, that took a lot of the. Oh, okay, wow, Stu. So this is one of the. Wow, look at Dave. This is one of the channel. This is one of the streams that we run. We run like 10 different servers, where we allow people to stream for stuff. I was just having a conversation out there with someone who was talking about how they're on YouTube and they keep canceling their, they keep canceling or taking their work out and rejecting it. And so what we learned was, you gotta have your own platform. What are you gonna do with the internet? You gotta have your own platform, and we have like 10 different servers that we have our own platform, and the only person that supervises it is me and my cat, Mr. Kitty. And Mr. Kitty is a girl, so you know he can take a joke. Wally want to talk.
Yeah. I just wanted to say that when I started, I said that I started with NISM and the CERT. And the reason why I went there, not for emergency preparedness, I went there because I was the chief engineer here, and we were looking for some kind of way to keep the station on the air when you had a blackout. Well, I never found it at CERT, even though I found other good stuff. But guess what? It was right here in the community with these guys. And that's why you gotta have a community emergency response, because what you need is here.
Good thing that bird didn't take you, bro. And I still haven't paid him for the work that he did that day. He ain't get shit from me. So what we wanted to do was have a way that you'd have to be able to communicate in the community, be able to use the internet, teach people how to use the internet, how to program the internet. We could show you lobbies of different buildings and stuff, but I mean, I think you guys know that we kind of know what we're doing. So what you want to do is we put TVs in the lobby and some of the developments so that people could, some of the tenants came to us and said, the kids are hanging in the hallway. So we put TVs in the lobby with the cameras so that you can see yourself when you come in, so you can see yourself on the TV. So as most buildings, you have cameras that you don't know if they're working. But if you walk in the buildings, you look at that camera, you be going, oh, that shit's working because I can see myself. And the kids stop hanging in the hallway in the lobbies because they don't know who can see them. They neighbors, they friends. And then we also have a chat function at each building, so you could actually get on the chat and say, yo, get your ugly butt out that hallway like I told you. So, you know, you need to have things where people can come together as community and have ways where, so you see the chat here, and people could get on there and chat and talk about who's in the building or whatever. Yeah, well, it's not. You said CC? Huh?
Sometimes you want to see who's coming into the apartments or whatever.
Yeah, we have we have cameras in the lobbies in certain buildings where the virtual tenant patrol, like in Angeline and Polly's building, where the tenants can look on their phone and see who's coming in and out the lobby. At first, people were against it, but then they thought it was a great idea. Yeah, sorry.
So, Mr. Frazier, I'm from the Dyckman Houses, and I'm on the TA board there. My question to you is, you mentioned that you were able to get walkie-talkie two-way radios. Did NYCHA assist you in paying for that for the tenants?
Next question. Next question. Next question. All the stuff that we did was funded by the residents. Because if you, don't start me on that, because if you really look around, there's one of the things that we don't have in our community is opportunity. There's no economic opportunity, and we all know who the system is tilted to help. So in the sense, going into all that. So what you have to do is have opportunity, and if you can't get it from somebody, you have to create it yourself. And one of the things that we learned from doing this with Stu is that, Stu's my business partner, and what Stu says, sometimes when you don't have money, you have to be creative, and sometimes you have to be creative to the 24th power. So that's what you have to do. You have to figure out how to get things done, how to handle your yo-yo.
Can I have that a minute? Actually, there's $2.5 billion in the federal budget to hook up communities to the internet, which certainly could pay for that kind of thing. It's called the BEAD program, and the BEAD, and it is just getting started in New York State and around the country. And the local politicians have access to that kind of money, and go to them and tell them you want to get the BEAD money actually out to the community. The money is there.
Okay, you know, I know Dave's a nice man, and he believes nice things, but y'all know who we are. We were interviewed by the BEAD People program, and when they interviewed Stu and I, the first thing I said to him was, I know we ain't getting shit, but I'll answer all your questions because maybe it'll help someone else. But that's not how.
The politicians, and I've spoken to the local congressmen about this kind of thing, and they've got assemblymen and state senators, and most of them are honest people who want to help, unlike, say, our mayor. And go get their help. That's the way to do it.
Well, I would disagree with some parts because we all know who gets the help and who don't. So nobody's tripping here. So we tried to figure out how to do things ourselves. We set up a teaching network where we went into how we got all this stuff done was this is how the kids used to hang out. See them hanging in the hallway? So what we did was when they would hang in the hallway, what you see here, they would hang in the hallway. We would record them hanging in the hallway and then put it on the screen in a loop. So that when they walk in the hallway, they go, oh yeah, that's me. I'm just standing in the hallway doing nothing, and I don't live in the hallway. I myself as a teenager, was arrested in my own building for hanging in the hallway, hanging in the lobby of my building, and the police came in. I started smart mouthing the police about I live in the building. Next thing I know, they said, turn around, put your hands behind your back. And took me in. They got a crime called loitering. I went down to the Tombs, and I spent time in the Tombs for loitering. So there's a crime for loitering. Maybe the reason they don't do it right now is because they would have to arrest the homeless people and feed them and take care of them. So they don't probably follow the loitering law anymore. So there it is. So I'm just going to wrap it up. So one of the things we did with the training program, the teaching network, was use people who are standing around doing nothing, because half the people who live there are unemployed. People don't know that. There's more people in the housing projects than the state of Vermont, and half the people are unemployed, and no one owns their own home. I don't think that would happen to anybody else, or they would do something about that. So we use the teaching network to teach people and train people who don't know nothing how to do this. And as a consequence, we got a lot of things done because we were using people who don't know anything, and we didn't have to pay them. And some of the people got a chance to do something positive in the building. This is one of the buildings we did on the roof. It's equipment I showed y'all. Yeah, we put it in with the knuckleheads. Solar panel, Dave's right. We was doing all this stuff a long time ago. You never heard of us, and that's probably why. So here's another housing building with their chat. And so you can see, like if you go on your phone, you can see the lobby, 2 lobbies, say those kids, they used to hang in this hallway. That's why we did this building. And this we did this a camera we put outside so that you could see the kids if they outside or whoever. And you, no, I'm not about, you know. Oh, well, he's talking. I used to do a character called Dr. Blackie, a street psychologist, but I don't do that no more. So this is a picture of that same roof. Here's the big antenna that Wally was talking about. This is the camera that we showed you. This is at night, and you can see how the camera lights up. And these are the 2 distributing points. So you have to have a way to figure out how to get things working with little or no money. So I would finish by saying this. If the internet was a peanut, we'd be George Washington Carver. Right. Okay, so thank you.
We should have had you to do our building, because in Esplanade, millions of dollars was spent on cameras and lights on the building, and none of that stuff worked. Does it? Come in the lobby.
They're not. Well, as you already know, they're not picking anybody that looks like us. So one of the things one of the beauties of working in the housing development, that they didn't mind working with us. They didn't mind that. Yes, ma'am. We use. Okay. So, okay. If you want to know about frequencies. All right, so he had a picture there. So what we use is 60. We use 2 different frequencies. We use 60 gigahertz. We use 5 gigahertz, and we use 2.4. So we use whatever we can get our hands on that's readily available, and we use that. We like MacGyver. We use stuff in a way that you're not supposed to. That's what MacGyver does.
I just want to ask.
Yeah, what Dave's saying is that. Say that.
The 60 gigahertz that he's using has just got out of the research labs, and people like Verizon haven't been able to make it work.
Well, it's easy to make something work when you don't got no money.
I just wanted to ask you, what is the range of these radios that you're?
Well, okay, so some of the radios that we showed you on the roof, some of them have a range of 10, 20 miles. Some of the hand radios have a long distance of the radios, not the ones that with an antenna on it. But if you get a licensed radio like this, Pastor, how long is the licensed radio distance, Pastor?
I'm so sorry. Thank you. I'll repeat what I was saying in case you all didn't hear me. That radio only goes, I think, around New York City, if I'm not mistaken.
So 10 miles, 8 miles, something like that?
Something like that.
It's pretty far.
This one went from Fishkill down here to the city. I was able to speak to Wale. The rest of these radios go around the world. You can reach people around the world.
Well, some of them work on a cellular network, so you could talk around the world on it because they use the cellular network. Some of these radios only work on the actual frequency from the FCC. We have a couple of FCC licenses. One, we have to use these radios. I tried to get the license, but they started asking all these criminal questions, so we got the license in Stu's name. Some of us grew up in Harlem with little wild teenagers. So we can't certain things we can't avail ourselves to. Y'all know what I'm saying? Yeah, you know what I'm saying. Some of y'all know people who went to took their prep with the prep school at Elmira. So, okay. Any other questions? That it? Okay, let's get to the raffles. I want to thank everybody for coming out. We had a great time. Thank y'all for the questions, man. Thank you, Angela, and thank you, Jolie, for coming out and with the Internet Society, and Dave for helping us. I just want to say one thing right quick. The reason why we've been working with the guys from the Internet Society, Dave and Jolie, is because we saw how those guys would work with, particularly like New York Mesh, they would work with them to help them to get started and to help them to move forward. And we thought if we could get with them and gain their trust, they would help us in our community, and they have. So I want to thank them, thank Jolie, and I want to thank Dave for that. Thank you, guys.